Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
By the way, speaking of the fraud case, you said Trump must put up more than $450 million to appeal his New York fraud case, yet he just tried to lowball the New York court, saying he'd only put up $100 million, and the court will have to spot him the rest. It's like he thinks he's at a flea market haggling over the price of tchotchkes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mentioned the old show, Let's Make a Deal. I'm like, or I think you mentioned his contractors. It's like, really, well, how about you take a penny on the on the dollar? It's like, that's not the way the justice system works.
You know, he's required to put up $550 million to file an appeal. And he says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, New York courts. I'll give you about 20 cents on the dollar and you can spot me the rest. I said, I don't know if he thought the New York courts have a fraud forgiveness program, but they don't. And what this proves, Steph, is Trump is circling the drain financially. You know what he offers as an excuse? I don't want to sell my properties to satisfy this lawfully entered judgment. Are you flipping kidding me? Guess what? Fonny Willis is going to start seizing his stuff.
Oh!
That was close.
Yeah,
you are. Close. Well, you didn't have to beat me there. No, Fonny Willis has got his number, just like E. Jean Carroll and Roberta Kaplan have his number, just like Jack Smith has his number.
Tish James, I think you mean. Yeah.
Tish James.
Yeah.
They all have his number. They have his number, and
yeah.
He's going to go down. It's a matter of time, and it's a question of how many people will he take down with him, and how long will all of this linger, as assisted by the Supreme Court and Judge Cannon down in Florida. Ultimately, he's still going to go down.
Let's take a moment to say good riddance to Mitch McConnell. You said Mitch McConnell's legacy, at least in part, will be violating the Constitution by denying a president's Supreme Court nominee a confirmation hearing, ignoring the Senate's advise and consent responsibility. I mean, it goes on and on. You wrote a whole great thread I read yesterday on the air about the damage that Mitch McConnell has done to, this country, the Senate, the judiciary. I mean, it's almost immeasurable, isn't it?
Nobody better celebrate this guy's tenure because, when he violated the Constitution by telling Barack Obama, I will not give your Supreme Court nominee, Merrick Garland, a confirmation hearing. Steph, what he did was violate the Constitution. And if it were me, I don't want to second guess President Obama, I would have said, Merrick Garland, the Senate has waived its right to provide advice and consent expressly. They've waived it. So please take your place on the Supreme Court. Here's your black robe. And then Mitch McConnell would have broken down. He would have backed up. He would have given Merrick Garland a confirmation hearing. Mm-hmm. That's the way street fighting works when you're trying to save a democracy.
Yeah, it's a lot. You tweeted, talk about a tangled Republican web, Jim Jordan and James Comer using Russian ties to try to impeach an American president. We are running out of, synonyms for unprecedented, but just a bad week all in all. You tweeted, I'm so sad we lost a wonderful, funny soul in Richard Lewis. When I started as a legal analyst back in 2018, he sent me a message saying that my analysis made him feel much less anxious. He spoke for a lot of us.
That made me laugh. I love that was his line. That's like, Rodney Dangerfield saying like, hey, you make me feel like I'm respected. I love that line from Richard, and we developed a 6-year relationship where we would chat. And I felt it when I heard the news, because what a wonderful soul he was.
I got to hang out with him in the green room at Ari Melber once. And, you just, for a comedian, you're like, oh God, comedy legend. So, and he was just nice and warm and funny as you would expect. You said with his last message, which just a few days ago, you said, I'll miss his talent, warmth, his decency, his dedication to the health of our democracy. Just a tough week all in all, right?
Yeah. We can only go up from here, Steph.
So, Glenn, speaking of judicial effery, I cannot seem to understand a reason for anything that makes sense to me about this Fonny Willis. I don't know. How does this happen? That a judge allows someone that is being prosecuted to then prosecute the prosecutors? As we were talking about before you came on, I get that if she was sleeping with a juror or the judge, that's a conflict. How is this even an effing discussion? I mean, first of all, and you have a guy that now has admitted, I was just gossiping. I don't really know anything,
Yeah. So here's the thing, Steph. First of all, I am a big fan of shedding light on whatever's going on and making sure prosecutors are on the up and up and are not violating the rights of the defendant. But you have to control the scope of a hearing like that. And once you realize there's no conflict, and there's no financial benefit. The financial benefit would have been Fonny Willis saying, you know what? I don't think Donald Trump committed any crimes, but I'm going to indict him so I can hire a special prosecutor so I can then take that special prosecutor's salary.
Yeah.
That would be bad, improper, unethical, sanctionable, and prosecutable. That's not what happened here. So at some point, you have to rein in the scope of the hearing. Once you've answered the question, there's no conflict, there's no financial benefit, and there's no prejudice to the defendant. Done. Let's set a trial date. And it's sort of spun out of control.
Just because, a district attorney really needs a guy to pay for half a dinner or a vacation.
Right.
So offensive. Here's the thing they're saying. So this is they're saying a lot will depend on whether the standard Judge McAfee uses is an actual conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict. Are you kidding me? What does any of this have to do with Donald Trump's guilt? The appearance of a conflict? I mean, how is that the standard? First of all, the relationship.
Well, actual conflict is the worst. Appearance of conflict is bad because then the theory goes, the people can't have faith in the outcome of the trial because there appears to be a conflict. So appearances are important, but here there is no there in my opinion, and I think Judge McAfee will rule that there is no conflict, and let's move through this. And you know what? If there was some ethical misstep, then Fonny Willis and others can be referred to Georgia State Bar Council, and they can look into it, and they can sanction her, reprimand her, if they believe something was done that was improper, that gave a rise to an appearance of conflict. But there's no there, and I think Judge McAfee will rule that way.
Yeah, and apparently the relationship ended before they sought the indictment. It's hard to argue the due process rights of Trump and his co-defendants were violated. I love this. They said that if there's an appearance, though, it could mean trouble for Willis and Wade, quote, because the shadow has been cast over the whole thing. The shadow being they're both black, in my opinion. I mean, I don't see. I've just never heard of this. I mean, we keep saying the famous one is Marsha Clark and Chris Darden, but I'm sure this happens in courtrooms all over the country every day, that people on the same team are sleeping together because they work long hours together or whatever. I mean, this metadata. How does that prove? You know, they obviously live and work in the same area, so they're trying to use his phone data. I mean, I said, the other day, are they this close to saying exactly when did you stick your in her? I mean, seriously? How much up in her panties are they going to get?
Yeah, they know there's no fire, so what they're trying to do is sort of blow on the embers and generate some smoke, and that's the best they've got. I think we will, this will be in our rearview mirror probably in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be on to the next attack against Fonny Willis for who she is and what she's doing, trying to take down Donald Trump. But you know what? She's a street fighter, Steph. And you saw her testimony. What we need is a street fighter. This is not a flippant cotillion, right? Yeah. This is a cage match trying to take down somebody who's tried to destroy our democracy and said, if given the opportunity, he'll be a dictator on day one, and he'll do it all over again. And this time he will succeed. This will be the last opportunity we have to vote come November. Yeah. And if Donald Trump wins, we will not need to vote again.
Yeah. Well, and he could likely be a convicted felon in this New York case by then. There it is, my first drink of the day, Zbiotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Zbiotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Zbiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Zbiotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.